This year's World Series will cross borders and cultures and presents a captivating contrast of clubs with very different recent track records. As the Toronto Blue Jays prepare to host the defending champion Los Angeles Dodgers in Game 1 on Friday night at Rogers Center, let's preview the 2025 Fall Classic by looking at the 10 storylines that will define it. We have to start with the Dodgers' dominance. Last year's championship was all about quieting any critics who didn't take their 2020 COVID bubble brilliance seriously and hosting their first championship parade since 1988. This year, it's all about cementing themselves as MLB's team of the decade. The Dodgers sleepwalked their way to 93 wins and the NL's third seed before flipping it to championship mode just before the conclusion of the regular season and dominating this postseason. They won 9 of their 10 games against the Reds, Phillies, and Brewers, outscoring their opponents 46-28 and getting a 1.40 ERA from their starters. It's one thing to be a defending champ and quite another to play like one. The Dodgers are doing that. They are seeking their 9th title in franchise history and could become MLB's first repeat champ since the 1998-2000 Yankees. This is contrasted with our second storyline, which is the Blue Jays' ambition to bring the crown back to Canada for the first time in a generation. It's been a long time since Joe Carter touched them all in the 1993 World Series. The Blue Jays won back-to-back titles in 1992 and 93, but those are the only World Series titles not only in Blue Jays history, but Canadian history. So there was more than the usual amount of emotion in the building when George Springer swung the Jays to the lead they would not relinquish in Game 7 of the ALCS.
Swinging a fly ball, left field and deep, Arozarena turns, gone! A Springer dinger, 4-3 Blue Jays in the bottom of the 7th!
The Blue Jays are the only team in baseball capable of commanding the attention and fandom of an entire country. They've done just that in a 2025 season in which they rose from the ashes of last place in the AL East in 2024, erased a division deficit against the Yankees that had been as large as 8 games, finally won a playoff game and series for the first time since 2016, and are now on the cusp of that crown. The third storyline comes down to rest versus rust. The Dodgers swept their way through the NLCS and will have had a full week off by the time Game 1 begins. The Blue Jays will have had 3 days off by that point, but they'll also have needed it after that exhausting, exhilarating 7-game ALCS. The fourth story here, the superstars. And though there are quite a few of them in this series, our focus here is on the 2 generational talents having epic Octobers. Shohei Ohtani was, you'll remember, a major target of the Blue Jays when he was a free agent, but he ultimately went to the team with whom he was most associated with that winter in signing a heavily deferred deal with the Dodgers. All he's done since is make more history, though he was actually having a pretty disappointing October until what happened the night LA finished off its sweep of the Brewers in the NLCS. In a performance for the ages, Ohtani delivered 6 shutout innings with 10 strikeouts on the mound while cranking out 3 homers at the plate, including one that cleared Dodger Stadium's right field pavilion.
And Ohtani, towering wall, high drive, right field. He's done it again. Shohei Ohtani to the top of the pavilion in right field. 469 feet, the longest home run at Dodger Stadium this year.
We had never seen anything like it. And now, for the very first time, we get to see the 2-way version of Ohtani in the World Series. We've also rarely seen anything like what Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has done for the Blue Jays through 2 rounds of this postseason. Prior to 2025, the Blue Jays hadn't won a playoff game since Vladdy's debut, and with his free agency fast approaching and the team stuck in a rut, there was genuine worry that the Canadian-born son of a Hall of Famer would be taking his talents elsewhere. Instead, the Blue Jays ponied up the $500 million commitment it took to lock arms with their signature star long-term, and ever since, he and they have done nothing but live up to their vast potential. Guerrero had a great 2025 season. In the postseason, though, he's been on another level, bashing 6 home runs while posting a 1.440 OPS that is the 3rd highest ever in a single postseason by a player with at least 40 plate appearances. Guerrero has made 51 trips to the plate and struck out just 3 times, an incredible blend of power and plate discipline. And that leads to our next storyline, which is the approach of these offenses. In the regular season, the Dodgers were 2nd in MLB in runs per game, while the Blue Jays were 4th. The Dodgers strike out more than the Jays, but with the 12th lowest strikeout rate in MLB in the season, it was not an absurd rate. And the Blue Jays had the lowest K rate of any club. In a high strikeout era for MLB, fans should appreciate watching two teams who don't necessarily take an all-or-nothing mentality. Guys like Ohtani and Guerrero, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, Springer, and maybe the returning Bo Bichette will be a big focus. But the Dodgers have also gotten 11 hits apiece this postseason from Kike and Teoscar Hernandez, 10 from Tommy Edman, and catcher Will Smith has begun to look healed from a late-season hand injury. The Blue Jays have a really deep lineup in which the likes of Ernie Clement, Addison Barger, Dalton Varsho, Alejandro Kirk, Nathan Lucas, and even light-hitting middle infielder Andres Jimenez have had big moments for them in the postseason. Let's work backwards a bit and talk about the bullpens with our sixth storyline, because in the increasingly relief-oriented enterprise that is October, they're going to play a major role. The bullpen is the area in which each of these clubs is most vulnerable. The Dodgers' circle of trust shrunk all season before they took the bold step of inserting the electric but unproven Roki Sasaki into the closer role, where he has largely flourished in this postseason, but will now have to prove himself on the biggest stage of his life. The Blue Jays brought back their one-time prospect Jeff Hoffman to nail things down in the ninth, but he had a homer-prone year before recently locking it in and pitching lights out in the postseason. How those two perform and how their managers build the bridge to them will be fascinating to watch. Given the iffy bullpens, our seventh storyline revolves around the state and importance of the rotations. We already told you the absurd stats put up by the Dodgers' postseason rotation of Blake Snell, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, Tyler Glasnow, and Shohei Ohtani. It's on a Toronto offense that has scored the most runs, hit the most homers, and struck out at the lowest rate of any team in this postseason to put a stop to that run. But it's also on the Jays' rotation to step up on this stage as well or better than it did in the ALCS, in which Shane Bieber proved a worthy trade deadline acquisition, Max Scherzer fought off Father Time and his own manager, Kevin Gausman was nails, and rookie Trey Yesavage, in only his sixth MLB start, notched the victory that forced a Game 7. And Yesavage, at number 8, is a storyline all to himself. How's this for a crazy calendar year? Yesavage had been drafted 20th overall out of East Carolina University in 2024 and began his first full professional season with single-A Dunedin in the Florida State League. By the time the season was over, he had pitched for 2 A-ball teams, Double-A New Hampshire, and Triple-A Buffalo before debuting with the Jays just more than a month ago. With his unusual overhand delivery of a savage splitter, Yesavage has been an instant success in MLB, never more than when he earned the win in Game 6 of the ALCS. Now he'll be capping his incredible year by pitching in the World Series at age 22, and he'll still be classified as a rookie next season. On the other end of the spectrum, our ninth storyline, the future Hall of Fame hurlers. Clayton Kershaw is closing out his legendary Dodgers career with one last trip to the World Series. His role has been that of a reliever this postseason, and the Dodgers no longer lean heavily upon him as they did in his heyday. But after not appearing in last year's World Series because of injury, here's his chance to go out on top. We're not as sure what the future holds for the 41-year-old Max Scherzer. He was roughed up and had trouble posting up in the regular season, so it remains to be seen if he'll continue his career past 2025. But Game 4 of the ALCS featured a vintage performance from Mad Max, who screamed at manager John Schneider when he tried to take him out of the game and gave the Jays 5 2/3 terrific innings when they needed it most. After winning it all with the Nationals in 2019 and the Rangers in 2023, Scherzer has a chance for his 3rd World Series ring. Our 10th and final World Series storyline revolves around the other individual legacies on the line. This could be the 3rd World Series title for Dodgers manager Dave Roberts, who already has the greatest winning percentage of any skipper in history with at least 1,000 games managed and would be a surefire Cooperstown entrant. On the other side is the Blue Jays' Schneider, who took over on an interim basis in 2022 and will now have his chance to prove his managerial mettle in the title round. Here's a chance for Freddie Freeman to become the first player ever to win back-to-back World Series MVP honors, or for George Springer, on the heels of his 23rd postseason Springer Dinger, to be a series MVP again after winning that honor in 2017 with the Astros. A ring here could one day aid Guerrero's case to reach the Hall like his dad. A ring here would be the 4th in the incredible career of Mookie Betts. And a ring here would be a first for Donnie Baseball. After more than 40 years in the game, including 5 as manager of the Dodgers, Blue Jays bench coach Don Mattingly is at long last in the World Series for the very first time. Finally, And maybe most importantly, let's not forget the championship rosters for the Dodgers in 2020, the Braves in 2021, the Astros in 2022, the Rangers in 2023, and the Dodgers again last year all featured a player named Will Smith, the Dodgers mainstay catcher, and the Braves, Astros, and Rangers reliever of the same name. The Dodgers aren't just looking to repeat, they're looking to give us 6 straight champions with a Will Smith. All right, prediction time. While the Blue Jays are battle-tested, they might also prove battle-weary after all the stress it took to get to this point. I'm going to root against that and hope for another 7-game thriller like what we saw in the ALCS. And the Dodgers bullpen might make it so. But going into this series, I think the Dodgers will continue their ownership of this October and win this one in 5 games. Enjoy the World Series and whatever new storylines it presents.